Okay, so everybody, thank you for coming. Let me introduce to you our presenter today. Her name is Maria Rodriguez. She is with Valley Behavioral Health as a senior wellness supervisor. She has been a wellness health educator for the past 8 years, working with nonprofit community organizations, hospitals, school districts, and public health departments. She has worked with a variety of audiences ranging from children up to senior citizens, and in her current work with Valley Behavioral Health, she has a bachelor's degree in nutrition and a master's degree in public health, and she is also a certified health education specialist, and she has had that certification for 3 years. She is passionate about helping destigmatize mental health conversations and helping individuals better understand the connection between our physical and mental well-being.
Right, thank you so much for having me today. It's been really enjoyable to be part of these webinars. So I appreciate the opportunity for that. So for today's class, we are going to talk about this concept of gratitude. I think it's very appropriate for the month of November, since Thanksgiving is coming up in a couple of weeks, to touch a little bit on gratitude, what it means, and how it is that we can practice more gratitude in our lives. I'm gonna open the presentation by talking about some pretty interesting information regarding gratitude. And so I wanted to just briefly and simply define it. Gratitude is a state of being grateful. So that is very simple, just taking the time to really think about what's going on in your life and finding the positive in every situation. We all go through ups and downs. It's part of being human. And so it's important to be able to find the good even in those lows. We are on a roller coaster, so we will all go up, we will all have our ups and downs. And so it's important to not only show gratitude in our ups, but also in those downs, because that's really where it makes the biggest difference, to be able to see the good in things even when you're not in the best situation. So that is how we define it. Very simple. Gratitude is a state of being grateful. It involves recognition of the positive things in your life and how they affect you. Practicing gratitude on a regular basis is strongly and consistently associated with greater happiness. So gratitude is this concept that's been well researched. There's a lot of data and studies coming out that talk about how practicing gratitude on a regular basis impacts our well-being, both physically and mentally. And there is this strong data showing that we just are happier when we're able to apply this idea of being grateful and practicing gratitude on a regular basis. Not necessarily every single day, but at least making it part of your weekly habit, we can definitely reap a lot of benefits. So I wanted to ask those that are joining us today, you can definitely write it in the chat or you can unmute yourself, whatever you prefer. I also welcome questions during the presentation, so if you have any questions that come up, feel free to do so. I just wanted to maybe hear a little bit from those that are joining us. What benefits have you personally experienced from choosing to be more grateful? I think this is a very interesting question. I always get people sharing different and practical way and not allow all these thoughts of worry to spiral out of control. If I just stop for a couple of minutes and really breathe and ask myself, let's focus on what's going well. What are those things that went well for me today? If I lead with that appreciation for those things, it kind of puts everything else in perspective and allows me to tackle each thing one at a time without becoming overwhelmed. So did anybody want to share what is the experience like for you when you choose to be in that state of gratefulness, either in the chat or over the microphone? Feel free to unmute yourself. Ladies that are here supporting the class, don't know if you see anything in the chat, but if you do, feel free to let me know. All right. And we might warm up a little bit more as the class progresses. So I'll keep going through the class and maybe I'll ask again towards the end of our presentation here. Okay, let me see if I can scoot this little thing over. Whoops. Okay, so let's talk about a few researched and well confirmed benefits of gratitude. Practicing gratitude tends to help people be more optimistic. So when you think about when someone is struggling with their day-to-day, maybe they're having financial problems or having relationship problems, when we decide to focus on what's going well, it just sort of transforms our mindset. We're able to lead with that framework and ways that we can do that helps us to kind of put ourselves in that mind frame of positivity, which then helps to get through those difficult situations and see them more as just bumps in the road, glitches, instead of overwhelming mountains and boulders that are hard to overcome. When we practice gratitude on a regular basis, we also tend to have a higher life satisfaction. Again, why? Because we're able to better cope with stressful situations. Being thankful also significantly lowers our risk for major things like depression, anxiety, alcohol dependence, and drug abuse. So these are big behavioral things that sometimes are due to not being able to problem solve, find solutions to the things that we're struggling with. So practicing gratitude is a way to significantly lower our risk for these things that are very common, like depression and anxiety. And it sounds like it's a very simple thing to do. And I think it's definitely harder than it sounds because we have to create that habit of naturally wanting to include that as a daily habit of taking a couple of minutes to just observe, reflect, and give thanks for those things that are going well. But with practice, like any skill, it does become easier. We just have to have that awareness and motivation to want to practice it on a regular basis. Let's talk about gratitude and physical health. So I found this section here very interesting. Sometimes we assume the mind and the body are separate, or we want to treat them separately. But time after time, there's a lot of evidence showing that the body is connected, physical and mental. And so expressing gratitude, making that a regular habit, will also reap some physical. Individuals who regularly practice gratitude tend to experience less aches and pains, tend to have lower blood pressure, are able to maintain healthier habits like exercising regularly and eating a balanced diet. They report better sleep quality and are more likely to visit the doctor for routine checkups. So when I see a lot of these statistics, it kind of brings to mind that when we are in tune with our gratitude, show appreciation in whatever phase of life we're in, we tend to prioritize our self-care. We tend to put ourselves first and really nurture our health. And it shows by picking up other healthy habits like regular exercise and eating healthy, making time to go to sleep early so we can get good quality sleep, and making sure that we go to the doctor on a regular basis just to make sure that everything is okay. And so as you practice gratitude more regularly, you will probably notice some of these physical changes in yourself. And I think that's very motivating to help us and encourage us to continue to be on that track of practicing gratitude regularly. So those are some physical health benefits. I wanted to talk about a few emotional health benefits. We know that gratitude significantly reduces the occurrence of some toxic emotions, including things like envy, jealousy, resentment, frustration, regret, and anxiety. So when we have a tool, a healthy coping tool like expressing gratitude on a regular basis, these emotions are usually not long term or long lasting. We're able to experience them, but then find a healthy outlet for them. And so for many people, gratitude negative emotions, we can turn to gratitude, taking some time to really reflect on the things that are good for us to sort of distract and start to shift those emotions into a more positive direction. Let's talk a little bit about the mental health benefits, some additional ones here. We know as well that gratitude helps to mentally cope better with trauma and its symptoms. Trauma is something that we all experience throughout our lifetime. Some of us may go through traumatic experiences in childhood, like our parents divorcing or experiencing some sort of abuse or neglect. And those type of experiences tend to leave a lasting effect in us. We may have some symptoms of codependence or detachment, difficulty making friendships or maintaining relationships because of things we experience at a young age. And so when we get into this habit of expressing gratitude, we're better able to cope and deal with these traumatic events that maybe happened decades earlier in our life. Additionally, those who regularly practice thankfulness show lower levels of certain stress hormones, specifically cortisol, and are better able to handle and cope with stressful events or situations. So this is a physical manifestation of practicing gratitude. It actually creates some hormonal changes in the body. We're able to lower these cortisol levels, which in turn means that our body is not in that fight or flight response all the time. So that's pretty incredible that it can go into the gene level, the DNA level, the hormonal level of creating some changes physically in the body. Gratitude also leads to people who are more resilient when faced with emotional setbacks and traumatic negative experiences. So you may have heard this word resilience a lot lately in the last few years. It's definitely been more in the forefront when it comes to mental health. And resilience is just our ability to overcome those things that are difficult, those hard experiences that we've been through. There's this myth or misconception that resilience is just something that we're born with. And this is not true. Resilience is something that we can learn and we can grow in over time as we learn more about ourselves and we're able to use tools to help us find that resilience and strengthen our resilience. So just wanted to kind of mention that because I hear that a lot. Oh, I cannot overcome all of my problems because I wasn't born that way or I wasn't raised that way. But there's definitely things that we can do that are within our control to grow in resilience. Some symptoms of anxiety and depression are also well managed by people who regularly express appreciation in their lives. So we know anxiety and depression are really big, common things that people experience. They're some of the most common mental wellness conditions, symptoms that most of us may have experienced at one point or another. And gratitude can be really, really helpful in decreasing those symptoms of anxiety and depression. Finally, I wanted to mention that Practicing gratitude, leading with optimism, positive thinking has also shown to help boost our self confidence. So, self confidence is something that has a huge impact on our behaviors, the opportunities we decide to pursue, our personality, our relationships with other people. So I feel like self-confidence is something that we can always grow in, we can always develop, we can always find ways to nurture it and grow our self-confidence. And gratitude is a way to really give a boost in our own self-confidence. Okay, so how can we grow in gratitude? How can we start to practice this concept of gratitude and giving thanks? One of the things that I have mentioned throughout the presentation so far is practicing positive thinking. Positive thinking is something that's difficult to get into, I think, especially if our nature is to always look at the bad. So this is not something that we can apply overnight or in a week. It definitely takes repeated practice to start to change the way that our brain decides to look at things. So it's a practice of patience, really. We just have to, when we are in a situation that is going to take us into a negative space, we have to have the awareness to, in the moment, notice that we're going into that space and decide to stop that thought, to kind of halt it in its tracks. It's normal, it's going to happen. Those thoughts are going to enter our mind, but we have a choice to stop in the middle of it and decide to shift our perspective somewhere else. Try to find the positive in the situation or the experience that we're going through. We may not always be able to change our thought pattern, but at least if we have the intention and awareness of it happening, we will be able to do it a little bit more often than, say, if we don't have that awareness of when it happens. So it could be just deciding to look at small things in life, like being stuck in traffic, as not the end of the world, right? Not complaining, making ourselves the victim of the situation, and instead seeing it more as a fact. There's a lot of traffic today. There's nothing I can do about it. Let's put on some happy music that I enjoy, and let's have a jam session here in the car, right? Distract ourselves from the negativity. Something else that we can practice is nurturing your relationships with others. There's a lot of strong evidence pointing to the importance of having social connections in our lives. It helps a lot to decrease our risk for depression, decrease our risk for anxiety disorders, and it can really boost our life satisfaction and longevity, just being around other people that we enjoy their companies. So how can we do that? It could be just deciding to call a friend you haven't talked to in a while on a more regular basis, having deeper conversations with family members or friends, telling them that you're thankful for them, letting them know, I really appreciate your help with X, Y, and Z. So sometimes we forget to appreciate the people in our life. We take for granted the things that they do for us. So hearing from a friend, hey, thank you for doing that. I really needed to get to that place and I didn't have transportation and you helped me out. I appreciate you. You did something that really helped me. That feels nice to hear that from somebody else. So I think just practicing saying thank you to other people is a way that we can show gratitude. Just smiling and laughing often. Sometimes there's a lot of bad in the world, and so we forget these simple joys in life. Putting on a funny movie, talking to your friend that always makes you laugh. These are great ways to lift our mood. And in a sense, we're also expressing that gratitude by, even if things are difficult, we're making time to smile and laugh a little bit more often. Write a thank you note. So this could be to a friend, somebody that did something nice to you. Receiving a little card, either in the mail or in person, is always a nice touch. Embrace nature's beauty. Nature is very healing. Spending time outdoors, disconnecting from technology. Sometimes we're so busy that we forget to step outside. And we know nature, just looking up at the sky, breathing in some fresh air, looking at something green out in nature tends to lower our heart rate, tends to lower our blood pressure. So can we make some time, whether it's 5 minutes, half an hour if you have that time to take a walk around your neighborhood, to appreciate, show gratitude for your environment, your surroundings. We live in a beautiful state. We have beautiful mountains to look at every single day. So can we kind of stop and appreciate the things that are around us? That's a very simple thing that we can start doing. Practice random acts of kindness. So I think this one is always nice and refreshing when someone just does something nice for a stranger, or you buy someone flowers just because there doesn't have to be a specific reason why, and it really makes that other person feel really special and cared for. And that's a way, again, for us to show gratitude and appreciation for that individual. And it'll probably make their day. It'll make them feel really special to receive that from a loved one. Another very useful tool that you may be familiar with already is to keep a gratitude journal. So journaling is a very healing technique that we can implement in our day-to-day. And it's a very simple process. You don't necessarily have to do it daily. If you can, that's awesome. But if you cannot, just a few times a week, you can also get some very good benefits from it. So it could mean taking 10 minutes, maybe 3 times a week to write down 3 to 5 things you're grateful for that day. Okay, it could be small things, it could be big things. We're not very particular about this. It's just about making it really personal to you and giving yourself some time to reflect and find the good even in a bad situation. Wow, this was a really tough time in my life, but I managed to find some good. And looking back now, I feel so positive, and it brings a smile to my face to reflect on these things that I was able to focus on, even in the midst of a very difficult time in my life. So, with journaling, the goal here really is just to appreciate either a good event, a good experience, a person that you really, really appreciate, or something, whether it's having a warm cup of coffee in the morning, having your favorite meal that day. It could be something really small like that. And being able to enjoy the good emotions that come along with those thoughts. So, as you write the things you're thankful for, you'll probably notice that a smile comes to your face. You'll probably notice that you're not as grumpy as you were before you started journaling. And so we want to focus on those emotions, those feelings that come up as you're doing this activity. And as I mentioned, there are no rules with this. You can focus on big and small things, whatever it is that brings some joy to you. So if you look at the image that I have here, there are some examples of somebody's journal entry practicing gratitude journaling. So some of these, as you can see, they're very simple. Thankful for the nap I had this afternoon, right? Having the time to have a nap. Some people don't have that time available to do that. Thankful for what I got done today, moving forward. So being okay with maybe not checking off everything on your to-do list, but appreciating the things that you did get done. Being kind to yourself, gracious, giving yourself grace, and saying, I can move some of those to-do things to the next day. Don't let it bring you down and overwhelm you if you cannot meet or complete check off everything that's on your to-do list. I think part of practicing gratitude is that, not expecting perfection and giving ourselves a little bit more grace, being a little bit more gentle with ourselves. Okay, so I wanted to provide additional ideas. So when we do gratitude journaling, you may come to a point where you feel stuck. You feel like you have already named all of the things that you're grateful for, and so you're struggling maybe to come up with things. There's a lot of good resources online. These are examples of some journal prompts that maybe you could use different days of the week. when you're struggling to complete your journal, and just focus on that prompt and talk about that, write about that in your journal. So it could be a variety of different things, focusing on someone who loves you, thinking and writing down things that you like about that person, characteristics. Us to do a little bit more introspection and write down some of those things that we appreciate on a variety of different topics. So these are just some ideas. If anyone is interested in this particular list, you can let me know in the chat and I can send that over. Or our moderators here can assist me with that if anybody is interested. We can get that out to everyone. Another very fun idea, this is a good one for crafty people, people that like to do things with their hands. This is a gratitude jar. I think this is really good for people of all ages. I know kids love to do this. A jar is just a physical, visual way of reminding ourselves to practice gratitude. So how it works, you basically just grab any container that you wish to use for this. You can take some time to make it look really pretty and nice, decorate it as you wish. And then the point of this is to write in small pieces of paper one thing that you're grateful for. So we write these out, maybe you do 2 or 3 a day, and you add them to your gratitude jar. What I like about this, this activity is that we can use this gratitude jar when we're really struggling. We all have those bad days where we feel like everything is going wrong, nothing is going our way. This is a tool that we can use. We can go to our gratitude jar and pull out some of these slips of paper that we've completed in the previous weeks or months, and just take a little breather, take a little break to read through these entries and kind of start to be in that zone of gratitude and say, you know what, yes, I had a very rough day today, but yes, I should be grateful that I have a warm home. I should be grateful that I have reliable transportation. I should be grateful that I have enough money to buy groceries. So the simple things in life, I think it's always, it kind of puts things into perspective if we can really appreciate those things that we take for granted many times, right? Sometimes we just nitpick at the little things that are not going our way. So very useful tool. It's a visual reminder. Sometimes if we just keep it all in our heads and say, every morning I'm going to start my day by thinking about things that I'm grateful for, sometimes we forget because there's no visual reminder. So a gratitude jar may help us to turn this into a more regular habit. Okay, there's something else called gratitude meditation. This is the practice of reflecting on the things in our lives we are grateful for and experiencing a sense of appreciation for what we do have. So there's a lot of wonderful guided meditation videos online. I use a lot of YouTube. I think YouTube is wonderful. It's a free resource and we can basically learn anything on YouTube. So definitely I encourage people to check out meditation if you've never done meditation. There are some very beginner-friendly videos. Meditation is just another skill that requires practice for us to get into. With meditation, there's a lot of focus on being in the present moment, practicing mindfulness, and really with gratitude meditation about bringing to your mind things that you're thankful for. Many of these videos, we are in a quiet space. Maybe we're laying down or we're seated. We close our eyes and just reflect on the things that are going good in our lives and showing some appreciation for some of those things that are working out. It could be that we bring to mind a particular person that we're really thankful for, a particular experience that we had, and just taking 5 minutes to think about that and allowing those feelings of appreciation to kind of fill your heart, fill your mind with positivity. So it's really lovely if you give it a chance. If anything, it'll just help you to feel more calm and relaxed and more centered. Benefits of gratitude meditation include helping us also to get unstuck from feelings of anxiety, worry, and fear. So, if you're someone that tends to worry about everything, you're always looking at the what ifs or the worst case scenarios, I think meditation can be a really helpful tool. It forces us to try and block out all of those thoughts of worry, and just pay attention to what's happening now. And with gratitude meditation, we are prompted to think about positive things. So we fill our mind with positive things, it's harder then to focus on what's going wrong or worrying about things that may go wrong. Shifting our perspective and opening up our minds to allow us to free ourselves from negative thoughts. So again, that's one of the benefits of meditation. It can really help to shift perspective and start to appreciate the things that are going well, not taking things for granted, anything for granted, really. An alternative to meditation that some people may prefer is prayer. Prayer is wonderful. It can be a great outlet to unload our worries and express thankfulness. So having a connection to God or some other higher power, for many people, kind of allows them to let go of that sense of wanting to control everything. Just because we are in awareness that there's a higher power, there's God that's in control. It gives us that permission to let go and not try to control everything. When we're in that state of wanting to control, things usually don't go exactly how we want it. So we start to have all these feelings of shame or guilt, or like we failed at whatever it is that we were trying. So prayer, talking to God on a regular basis, reading verses that are really encouraging to us can be a great way to kind of keep things in perspective and focus on the good and let go of everything else that is out of our control. Okay, I wanted to show everyone this brief clip. This is an exercise on gratitude by Tony Robbins. He's a motivational speaker. And so I think he did a really great exercise here to kind of get us in the zone of what meditation might feel like. And notice if you notice a difference before we start and after we start. So I'm hoping, I have my fingers crossed, the audio is good. So let me put this for everyone. Let's see, share. Google. Right. Right. Okay. I thought that was a very powerful exercise. And something, whoops, let me stop that. And as you can see, it took just a couple of minutes to really notice a difference in our state of being. So let me share this again. So just having that intention to really pay attention to how you're feeling in the moment, showing appreciation in the small things like your heart. Our heart is amazing. It does so much work. It's been beating since before we were born, and it works so hard for us. And do we ever take the moment to stop and appreciate that we have a beating heart, that we're alive? Those are sort of the core basic things in life that sometimes we just take for granted. And so we fill our mind with all these smaller, minor things that for us, we kind of enlarge, so they kind of take over what we think about and just create a lot of our own worries. And so just taking some time to show that appreciation for yourself, for your body, your mind, the things that you're able to do, sometimes put into perspective that the problems that we think are huge, that big. They have a solution. We know what we need to do. We just need to take that action. Sometimes we just think about it, but don't take the action that we know is going to reduce our stress levels. And so I think gratitude goes a long way in helping us to shift that perspective and not see our problems as so overwhelming. We're able to actually pinpoint some solutions. So let me see, I feel like I skipped a slide. No. Another topic I wanted to touch on a little bit is volunteering. So when I say volunteering, it doesn't just necessarily mean in an organized way, connecting with an organization or some sort of business that you're really interested in serving other people. Volunteering could also be in the sense of just in your day to day, how are you helping other people? It could be family members, it could be friends, neighbors. What are you doing to help others? For most of us, serving others helps boost our own self-confidence. It makes us feel better about ourselves. It gives us a sense of purpose and worth to be able to help someone else. So is there any way that you can be of service to other people? Like I said, we grow in self-confidence. We may even gain a greater appreciation for our own lives. There's always someone that's struggling a little bit more than us. They're going through a low while maybe we're going into a high. So there's always room for appreciating those times where we can say, this person is really down, they're really struggling. How can I serve them in any way to maybe have more faith that things will get better or start to appreciate some of the things that right now they're really struggling with. Ask yourself how you can use your knowledge, your skills, and interests to help other people. It could be volunteering at an animal shelter or volunteering at a senior center, using some of your skills and knowledge to pass that on to other people. So something that could help is to make a list of possible organizations or people you can reach out to connect with and volunteer. I wanted to share some useful websites for connecting you with more organized opportunities. So that's something that maybe you have space to do, interest in. Some of these are just serve.org and volunteermatch.com. I really like these websites because they offer things that are local. You have a say in terms of how often you're available to volunteer, if you want a one-time opportunity or a long-term, maybe regular weekly opportunity. There's a lot of different filters that you can pick through to narrow down some good opportunities for yourself. All right, so I know we're nearing the time that we have together, so I just wanted to leave us with this quote. I thought it was very, very good. It says, gratitude and attitude are not challenges. They are choices. So we definitely have a choice how we decide to view what's happening to us. We decide how we're going to react to those negative situations in our lives. Are we going to choose to focus on the negative, or are we going to choose to focus on the positive and lead with gratitude? Finally, challenge of the month. In our vital aging classes with Valley, I always like to extend an invitation to either reflect on something or take some sort of action. So with our topic today on gratitude, I wanted all of us to consider the different ways that we can practice gratitude on a regular basis and try to pick at least one to implement consistently for the next few weeks, or if you can, the entire month of November, what's left of it at least. So how would that look for you? Are you willing to maybe implement some gratitude journaling into your day-to-day, or practice some sort of acts of kindness, sending an unexpected greeting card or thank you card, or sending flowers, or buying a small gift for someone that wasn't expecting it? Meditation, is it exploring a little bit more about meditation, gratitude meditation, taking some time in the mornings or afternoons to kind of just sit in a quiet space and give thanks to your heart, give thanks to your body, give thanks to the people in your life that make you feel loved? Or could it be volunteering, spending some time with people in need, or just calling a friend that's really struggling to be their support system? in their time of need. So just wanted to close with that, extend an invitation to take some action when it comes to this topic of gratitude. It's always nice to talk about it and hear about it, but we won't really reap the benefits unless we practice it for ourselves. All right, I wanted to open up some time here for any questions or any comments that anyone may have.
I just want to mention in the chat, in case anybody else would like this as well, Bonnie asked if she could get a list of that gratitude ideas, the list that you showed.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. Did she leave her email, or would it be best to send that information over to you?
Why don't you send it to us and we can
Okay.
attach it to the recording?
Okay, I will do that.
Thanks. I know for me, one of the things I was thinking of is this whole month is the month of November we typically associate with Thanksgiving, and that kind of goes with the gratitude. And I liked some of the ideas of trying to make Thanksgiving more than just one day of the month, but make it a whole season. And so for me, I think I'm going to try to do that gratitude jar as my form of journaling. I can write a little note in it each day, but then I can see that I am making that progress as well. So I'm going to try that one.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. My family and I, we practice that. We have a gratitude jar. And if somebody comes home cranky or not in the best mood, we pull one out and we read it. And it just kind of brings perspective to the situation. So definitely encourage that.
Do you have any suggestions if there are, so we may be trying to practice this gratitude, but then you might be around someone who just kind of sucks that energy out, or who's just really resistant to trying to look at the silver lining of things. How would you work with someone like that so that it doesn't affect your practice?
Yeah. I think in those situations, we can try to extend an invitation to maybe join us in doing some of these activities or just sharing some information. For some people, they are more logical, so they want to know the facts. So we have to kind of use different approaches depending on the personality of that person. But at the end of the day, we have to realize we can just be supportive, encouraging, to try to make some shifts in maybe their behavior or patterns, but ultimately they have the final say and as to whether they are willing to or they want to make the change. We can only be supporters and encouragers and say, hey, I'm trying this out for the month of November. Journaling every night before I go to bed. Do you want to join me in doing this practice? But it kind of, we can only go so far, right? After that, they have to then say, yes, this is something that I want to do for myself. And hopefully it helps to improve the relationship, but we cannot force them to do the activity. So we also have quite a bit of different classes that talk about um, evaluating the people in our lives, the type of relationships that we have, and kind of keeping an eye out for toxic relationships. And so that's a whole nother topic, but sometimes we have to kind of do that reflection and say, is this friendship that I have with this person, is this beneficial for my well-being? Is my well-being suffering when I'm around this person? And sometimes the best decision is the hard one. And sometimes that means distancing ourselves from that person for a bit, to give them the opportunity for both parties to either work on it or decide maybe this is not the right relationship for me right now. And that's a hard thing to do because sometimes it's family and it's like, you can't get rid of family, right? But you can only go so far in terms of extending that hand and working with that person to improve that relationship and grow together.
All right, thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to ask Maria a question or make a comment about the presentation? Okay, well, I just want to thank you, Maria, for taking your time to put together this presentation and just really remind us, and not only the benefits of gratitude, but then to give us some practical tools that we can use to implement this and try to hopefully help us experience the joy of the season and of the world around us and all of that. So thank you very much. Before we uh, stop this meeting, I just want to remind everybody about next week. We will be having another presentation. Paige Corley will be the presenter, and she's going to talk about sarcopenia. She's going to talk about what it is and how we can avoid it. So hopefully you can join us again then.